Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Michi Makes Up. I previously launched a summer SUQQU collection makeup preview video, and that seemed to be really popular. And at the end, I talked about picking up or trying to pick up a number of items from the collection, and I did successfully manage to get a few pieces, actually most of the collection. And so this video is completely dedicated to the new SUQQU Summer Collection. At the time of filming, the collection is available for the most part at Selfridges and Liberty London, as well as Harrods. And I will also have their links below to as many retailers as I can gather, so that you guys have some options to pick up these items for yourselves if you're interested. First of all, I have not gone into creating looks with these. I did actually swatch them and share them on Instagram, TikTok. And I will say, so far, it's been meeting my expectations. They looked very beautiful in the photos, and I think they look gorgeous swatched as well. So I'm really excited to dig in here. At the end, like usual, I'll do some comparisons. So first I have here 125 Hikarimai, and it is one of the two quads. And the packaging, I talked about how it has like a whiter silvery packaging. Well, it's actually white packaging, pearlescent, but it does have that green sparkle that reminds me of this duochrome here. So that's 125. And then we have 126 Asobikari, which is a purple, plum, and mauve quad, and this shade here is also a duochrome. I'll hold the two side by side so you can see the difference here. I like that they're considerably different from each other, the color stories. And then I also picked up two of the blushes. These are the marble blushes. They're not of the melting powder formula. I believe it is the same as their pure color blush formula. And they do have the marble patterns on top. I really had to convince myself to get into them and swatch them. Tell myself, like, this is makeup, you're gonna use it, that's why you got it. Although I do appreciate collectors who get duplicates of their favorite pieces so that they can keep the duplicate in pristine condition. I understand. So really pretty here. The whole thing so far, the packaging kind of all match up. And then I did pick up one of the marble lipsticks, which is, oh, before I do that, let me talk about the number designation for the blushes. So we have 140. In this, like, when I swatched this like caramel beigey shade, and then we have a classic kind of rose pink here, 141. Then there's actually a matching lipstick for both the blushes, although I only picked up one, which is 101, also in this marble patterning. And I want to spend a moment here to just look at the Bullet 360. Just gorgeous. I have not gone into this because I just want to spend that much more time looking at it before we dive into here. So I have high hopes for this lipstick as well, being that it's a good match for the collection. Before I get into the swatches, I just want to say I do love the packaging. This kind of pearlescent white is not something I've seen from SUQQU before, and I've been kind of following their makeup, the brand, for 3 years now. And it's gorgeous, but every piece of dust that's, not white, I can totally see on the compact. And I guess not surprisingly, all kinds of stuff is in the air and it just gets onto the compact. So if that bothers you, that's something to think about. However, I still think the collection, the makeup is beautiful enough that it's not going to be a deterrent for me enjoying this. All right, I'm getting into the swatches. So first, starting with 125 Hikarimai. These are the three main shades. That duochrome, so pretty, so pretty. And then this here, the pink, is actually a lid topper, so it does not have an undertone. So very, very classic SUQQU pairing of textures and shades. So this is actually with one swatch, and I would say it's very, and you can't even really see that lid topper shade. It's like right here. You can see the glisten, that's what it's from. The shades are pretty light with that one swatch, but I know I can build on these. Now, this deep matte shade here, you know, it doesn't look very evenly placed, even though I went back with a finger. Although I would say most of the product did, you know, deposit onto the wrist. We are going to put that to the test when I create a look with it. Now I'm going to swatch 126 Asobikari. 3 shades. The duochromes are nothing less of being stunning, just stunning. And then also the lid topper shade here that has no undertone. I think you'll be able, or barely able, to see it on my wrist, but I'll put it on anyways. So that's the lid topper here, but these are the other 3 shades. Okay, all right, and then finally for the blushes, 140 and 141, 140, 141, and the lipstick 101. Ooh, it's a beautiful color. Beautiful. Okay, all right. To create the look, I'm gonna go into 125 on the right eye and then 126 on the left. I'm going to begin with the deepest shade here and place that on the outer corner. Also into the crease. Then I'm going to take this duochrome shade and just get right in there, be very generous. And I'm placing that right here and blending it into the center of the lid, into that deep plum shade, or the deep matte shade, I should say. And then I'm taking this really buttery matte and just sweeping that on the crease. Then I'm also going to place some of that on the lower lash line. As for this lid topper here, I'll put some of that on the outer corner. And because it's a demonstration, I'm also going to place some of that right here on the center. See what that looks like to further brighten up everything. So that is 125, and then I'm going to move on to 126. I'm putting the shade all over the lid. Taking this duochrome, putting that above the lash line and onto the center of the lid. Also just using it very generously. And then I'm taking this deepest matte shade and I'm just putting that on the lower lash line and then putting some of it on the outer corner. So taking their lid topper, putting it on the inner corner. For blush, I'm going to take Sonia G's Niji, Mini Niji brush, sweeping it across. And the SUQQU's already gone, but oh well. We're gonna use the makeup. And that is blush 140. This is what I kind of expected, actually, from the Pure Color blush formula. They tend to be on the lighter side. It is buildable, but it continues to be subtle. And then I'm going to take 141 and use that on the left side. So let me wipe this off. I think 141 is generally more pigmented than 140. And also what's interesting is as you go in with a brush to do this, it actually cleans up that surface and you can continue to see the marble pattern really well. I thought that was kind of cool. It's like, oh, you can continue to enjoy this marble pattern by just like sweeping a brush on top. And I do want to come a little bit closer because both of the blushes do have that sheen to it, so it gives you that soft glow as a finish, and I think that's beautiful. So now I'm going to get into the lipstick. I do enjoy the lipstick. I really enjoy these type of shades. It does go with both looks, although just from the color story and the tone, it's meant to go with Quad 125 and Blush 140, although it can be used for both. As for the look itself, the eye look, I think these duochromes are very easy to use. So if you've ever hesitated or been intimidated by duochromes, not sure maybe like, you know, is it optimal placement? You saw that I did kind of from the inner corner upwards on the left eye, and then here just kind of all over the lid on top of that first purple plummy or mauve shade that I placed, and both work. I think these duochromes are bright enough, pigmented enough so that they really give you that effect. You can see they're duochromes, but yet they're still very much like SUQQU, where it gives you this wash of color. I don't think they, you know, even though this concept is more pigmented and more out there and colorful, I think they still stayed within their brand aesthetic. So I think these are really easy to use quads to create these types of, you know, really pretty, interesting looks and have that contrasting texture, especially when the light hits it. So really like the quad so far, and I have just the palette to take out for comparison because this green versus the purple theme. Natasha Denona has a palette called Triochrome, and you'll see in a moment here, but there are like 3 rows, and each of the rows have a common like theme to it, like a shade, a color story theme. One is green, the other is purple, and the third is kind of like a mix of, you know, more experimental pairings. This is exactly 2 of the rows you find on the palette, so I'm going to take that out and compare them first. So this is the Natasha Denona Triochrome palette, and immediately I think you guys might already see what I'm talking about here, these 2 rows. And I think we're going to find most similar with the purple. So I'm going to go into both of the duochromes or multi-chromes from this palette of these 2 rows. I don't think I'm going to swatch any of the kind of green matte shades here because there isn't other matching matte shades on or from the palette. However, from the purple side, holding up the purple SUQQU and the Natasha Denona palette, there's at least this one shade that I think we can compare. So these are the 4 shades I want to compare from Natasha Denona. I think we can agree just from looking at this, her shadows, and that's the claim to fame for the brand, is that they're very pigmented and the payoff is just, you know, wow, it just really is amazing. And we can already see these duochromes are very intense. You can see these duochromes are much more intense, but the purple is really different from the SUQQU one. I think there's more similarities with the green, but this is more intense, and I think a bit more golden. Okay, the 2 matte shades. Definitely more similarities than I thought with the matte shades. And then these 2 here from SUQQU. More intense, less, but I think it's a similar, really almost the same idea. I think this shade here and this one are nearly the same, maybe a little bit deeper from Natasha Denona. And then thinking of duochromes or multichromes, I don't have makeup from indie brands. It's just not something I've gotten into. So the other brand where I do have duochromes is going to be Pat McGrath, and I'm just taking this out to compare because of that purple duochrome and that green that we see from 125. This is not going to be similar, but I do just want to say this is beautiful. This is from Pat McGrath's Mothership 8. And this one is a multi-chrome. It's kind of on a different level of its own compared to these kind of duochromes here. But nonetheless, I just wanted to take her out. This shade is called Sextra Terrestrial. It's called VR Sextra Terrestrial. It has a very extra name. It's an extra type of shade. And then from my SUQQU collection, I do want to take another limited edition quad just to compare. It's 107 Tsuyukiri. I believe this was a pre-fall quad, but it has this purple here that I think is worth just swatching and showing you guys. So that's the purple from Tsuyukiri. When I switch over here, we've got nothing really all that similar. But I do want to say sometimes when you're looking at plums, purple, and mauves, there's a lot of different nuances you can play with. But after a while, when you've seen a number of them, they start to kind of like be kind of similar. So I just want to take that out because that was the first thing that came to mind when I thought, what from my SUQQU eyeshadow collection could I compare to? These two quads, I think they're beautiful. I just don't have that many duochromes in my collection, so they're an easy yes for me. The color stories from each other are also different enough. If you were ever drawn to Natasha Denona, especially the Triochrome palette, well, through these two quads, you can basically, you know, get these key looks from it. So if that is a consideration for you, another reason to seriously look into these. The blushes are beautiful, nothing short of my expectation from their pure color line. And the lipstick, I didn't have much comment on it, but other than enjoying the shade, loving the shade, it does have a satin, a glossy satin finish. It is a little bit sheer, so your natural lip color does come through. So far it's been about 15-20 minutes, still really comfortable, but SUQQU lipsticks in general, even their matte finishes, are very comfortable for that category of lipstick, so I'm liking that as well. I did have some reservation when I did this swatch here because it's patchy. I don't really have concerns of that as I was placing it onto the lid, but it definitely is softer, and while you can build it up, I don't think it's ever going to be, you know, giving you that intense smoky look, which is not really the brand aesthetic anyway. If you have any other questions for me, let me know below. I will see you guys again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.